Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Brooklyn City Council to order, please. Mary Jo, if you could do the roll call.
Mary Belbeer,
Here.
Kevin Tansky,
Here.
Andy Selhertz,
Here.
Katie Gallagher,
Here.
Tony DeMarco,
He's absent, excused.
Ron Van Kirk,
Here.
Kathy Pucci.
Here.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, but when you're standing, if you can remain standing afterwards, we are going to have a moment of silence in memory of our Safety Director, Ed Chesar. So if you can join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance Thank you. First up tonight, we have the approval of the minutes of December 29th, 2014.
Motion to approve. Second.
To approve, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz,
Yes.
Katie Gallagher,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Abstain.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
We will now proceed with our regular council meeting. Good evening. I hope everyone had a nice Easter holiday. Tonight on the agenda, we have an ordinance to allow the city to enter into a contract with Rick De La Rosa to provide health-based sessions and small group classes at the Recreation Center. This includes fat loss, joint pain relief, and prevention training classes ranging between $5 and $25 per hour, with the city receiving 20% of the monthly revenue. We have an ordinance establishing City of Parma rates for the Recreation Center. This includes general admission ranging between $3.50 and $6, identification cards for $5, annual passes between $125 and $335, monthly passes between $40 and $80, swimming lessons between $47.50 to $75, swim team between $67.50 and $100, learn to skate between $32.50 and $55, and skate rentals for $2. We have an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a 3-year agreement beginning August 1st, 2015 to establish a consolidated communications center in Parma. Brooklyn would pay Parma $212,000 for the first year, and subsequent years determined each year. Costs can change with a 90-day notice from Parma, an agreement to pay 15% of all non-emergency capital costs with a 90-day notice. An ordinance amending the recycling codified ordinances, redefining recyclable materials, container requirements, and placement of bins. An ordinance providing the issuance and sale of $413,504 in bond anticipation notes for the city building improvements and parking. An ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of $466,496 of bond anticipation notes for street repairs. Both of these were originally started in 2013. And during the budget process, we agreed to a 20% reduction in the debt. An ordinance authorizing the lease and purchase of 2015 Chevy Equinox and ancillary equipment for use by the police department. This is for use by the officer assigned to the High Intensity Drug Trafficking Task Force, that is a federally funded reimbursement of $21,600. The total cost of the car is $26,057.85. And this will be on emergency because the quote is only good for 30 days. An ordinance providing for the pay of certain non-bargaining employees. This would increase the top of the hourly range for the auxiliary police officers to $13.09, school guards to $13.09, part-time jailers to $18.50, and special police officers to $16.29. This is going to be on first reading, and there are going to be some tweaks to this ordinance for the next meeting. The mayor has also advised council he gave out raises to non-bargaining employees. This includes a 5.26% increase to the police chief, fire chief, recreation manager, law director, general foreman, mayor, secretary, prosecutor, economic development director, and magistrate, a 5% increase for the position of safety director, and a 2.5% increase for the service director and senior coordinator. The building commissioner and finance director will receive raises later in the year. Next, many of you likely received an email or saw announcements from NOPEC, but just in case you missed it, they were advised about 15,000 Dominion customers who enrolled in the opt-out mailers were charged $4.42 per MCF instead of the NOPEC rate of $3.96 per MCF. If you are one of these customers, you will receive a refund in your next bill. If you have further questions, you may contact NOPEC at 1-855-667-3201. At this time, we'll have the public session. If anyone from the audience has anything for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn, please step forward, state your name, address, including city, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, please.
Todd Hopkins, 642 Redstone Circle, Brunswick, Ohio. I'm the treasurer with Brooklyn City Schools. I appreciate your time this evening. I would like to speak again regarding our renewal levy that we have on the ballot on May 5th. We're down to 3 weeks from tomorrow. The ballot is issue number 1. It is a 6 mil renewal levy that was originally passed in the 1980s and has been renewed ever since. This is a 7-year renewal. It will be, it's currently charged at 5.133 mils, which to the average homeowner of a $100,000 house would be $157.23 per year. For that amount, it generates just over $1.5 million in local revenue, and additional $200,000 plus from state reimbursements for tangible personal property tax. If this levy is not renewed during this cycle of 2015, it would no longer be eligible for the homestead rollback and exemption. That currently provides a $25,000 discount for senior households, as well as a 12.5% discount that the state picks up that cost. So instead of being roughly $157.23, it would be based on about $175 per year. So there is that discount that our community receives right now that the state pays on your behalf of 12.5%. This funds all of our day-to-day operations. It is a current operating expense. It goes to the cost of utilities, gas for our buses, salaries, classroom supplies, everything that's in the day-to-day operations, and makes up 11% of our total budget. I strongly encourage you to get out and vote on May 5th, 3 weeks from tomorrow, and please support our schools by voting yes on issue 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Does anyone else have anything for the good and welfare of the city of Brooklyn? We'll now move on to reports of committees, commissions, and board. First up tonight, we have Finance and Economic Development, Councilwoman Pucci.
Thank you. Good evening. The Finance Committee met earlier this evening at 6 p.m. We started early to accommodate a couple of lengthy topics. I'm not going to be redundant and repeat some of the information that Ms. Gallagher already mentioned. So for ordinance 2015-16, which is the contractor for the rec center, the Finance Committee did recommend council approve that this evening. We did have some discussions on the items that are on first reading this evening, including the community partner rate for the City of Parma residents, the Consolidated Dispatch Center, the garbage recycling ordinance, and we had our municipal advisor was a guest at our Finance Committee meeting to discuss ordinances 2015-28 and 29. These relate to the rolling over of our notes. We have 2 ordinances, however, there will be 1 note sold for $880,000, and I'll just go over the timeline. This evening, we have it on first reading. April 27th, it'll be on second reading. May 11th, they will order an OMAC report, which basically gives the particulars to investors on the note. May 11th, we're scheduled to pass the legislation. May 12th, order a report and send financial information to the underwriter, which we anticipate being Key Bank. May 27th, the note will be priced, and it's at that point in time we'll know what the interest rate will be. May 27th, deliver the pricing to our bond counsel. May 28th through June 7th, prepare the closing documents and certificates. June 8th will be our pre-close date, and June 9th, the note will close. We should have the money wire transferred to us in time to pay off the existing note that we have, and we will be paying down 20% this year. The other ordinance, which is still on first reading this evening, is 2015-31. This deals with raising the upper limits for the salary ranges for our non-bargaining employees in the safety department. And what we're going to do and have ready for the next meeting is, right now, we've got some of the employees are covered on this exhibit to this ordinance, but then others are covered on individual ordinances. So that creates quite a dilemma when somebody says, well, what's the rate for this job? We've got multiple places where we need to look, and we're going to get something together where we have an exhibit for every single department, so we've got one source to look to. The other topic of conversation at the meeting was the dilemma with Brooklyn TV. At the close of the school year, the schools will no longer be able to support this. We've had a long partnership with the schools. Quite honestly, the schools have really done most of the carrying when it comes to this, so we've actually been pretty fortunate. We have a couple different options. And what we're going to do is Mr. Clausen is going to try and see if we can determine the percentage of residents who are with the different cable companies, which are Wide Open West, Time Warner, and AT&T UVerse. And hopefully we'll be able to move forward at the next meeting. There are costs associated with the city taking this over, and we're gonna need to decide exactly how much we're gonna spend and if we're gonna be able to provide the broadcast of the council meetings to all three of the cable providers, or whether we're going to pick two, which is basically what we have now. And I believe that completes my report for finance. Economic development, we did have a work session that was scheduled for last Wednesday, April 8th, however, it was canceled. We've rescheduled it for this Wednesday, April 15th at 10 a.m. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Recreation Board, Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. Anyone wishes to participate in the Memorial Day Parade, please call the Rec Center at 216-351-5334. The next Recreation Board meeting will be held on Monday, April 20th in the Rec Center Meeting Room at 7 p.m. That concludes my report.
Thank you. The Planning Commission met April 9th at 6 p.m. and deferred a request from Tobacco and Vapor Unlimited to install a sign that exceeds the maximum allowable area under Section 1129. This is located at 4334 Ridge Road, permanent parcel 432-25009. The Commission also discussed the Up to Bat property located at 8707 Memphis Road. As per their agreement when they originally came before the Planning Commission for site plan approval, the group would like to speak with the owners about the upgrades and landscaping they committed to on October 6, 2011 meeting. The Domestic Abuse Commission met Monday, March 30th at 6:30 in the City Hall Conference Room. The committee discussed the history of the group, police response calls and procedures, the results of the meeting with the school counselors and pupil advisors, and where we would like to proceed from here. The committee will have Police Sergeant Cindy Eschweiler at the next Domestic Commission Abuse meeting on May 18th to discuss in detail the DV crime rates in Brooklyn, as well as the police procedures when responding to these calls. The group has also been in contact with Parma Hospital and Domestic Violence Advocacy Center as an attempt to update our own procedures. Additionally, the group has invited the director of the newly formed Family Justice Center to come speak about how to promote this new community resource. Next up, we have the Board of Zoning Appeals, Building Commissioner Kolsar.
Thank you. The Board of Zoning Appeals will be meeting this Thursday, April 16th, 6 p.m., Brooklyn City Hall Conference Room, to hear a request from David Rapp for a 128 square foot variance to construct a 576 square foot garage located at 8612 Ansonia Avenue. Thank you. That concludes my report.
School Board Liaison, Councilman Selhertz.
Thank you. Once again, a reminder, will your child be 5 by September 30th, 2015? If yes, it's time to register for kindergarten. You can do that either online by downloading one of the forums or calling the Board of Education at 216-485-8112. Registration is by appointment only. On Tuesday, March 31st, the Board of Education held a special meeting in the Treasurer's office. The board approved the fiscal year 2015 permanent appropriations as submitted by the Treasurer. Additional discussion item was going into executive session about the superintendent search. They went into executive session a little bit after 6, and the meeting ended at 9 p.m. Also on Tuesday, April 7th and Thursday, April 9th, the Board of Education held 2 executive session meetings in regards to the superintendent search. For remaining agenda items discussed and voted upon, please go to the school system's website and click on the Board of Education tab and then on the Board Docs tab. Upcoming events: the High School Jazz Ensemble is performing this Wednesday at the Tri-C Jazz Festival at 10:30 a.m. as part of the Downbeat High School Invitational. The event is taking place at Tri-C Metro Campus downtown in the main auditorium. There are 10 bands performing over 2 days. The post-prom music boosters are having a wing night this Friday, April 17th at 7 p.m. at Bleachers Sports Grill on Ridge Road in Parma. Brooklyn Schools will be joining in Touch a Truck, the bike rodeo, on Saturday, May 9th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. There's the usual variety of hosting parties. Spring sports are in session. Please take a look at the website. There's some good activities going on. The girls' baseball team won their opener, and this past weekend they won 2 games on Saturday. The next board meeting is Tuesday, April 21st, 2015 in room 173 at the high school at 6 p.m. The public is welcome and encouraged to attend. It is your school system for your children. That concludes my report.
Next up, legislative update, Councilwoman Balbier.
Thank you. There are many people who do not know that teaching of cursive, in other words, writing, is not mandatory in the state of Ohio. Though cursive is included in the model curriculum that state has offered to districts since 2011, districts are not required to follow it. Many in the teaching profession feel that arguing over cursive is less important than making sure students have access to the computers that they need. They believe that keyboarding is far more important to the careers of young people than writing. Whether cursive is taught is a decision each district decides. Cleveland no longer teaches it, Parma does. Our own city, Brooklyn, does teach cursive starting in the 3rd grade. The position of the state school board is that it is important for young people to learn cursive. They note that studies and research have shown that instructions in cursive writing develops fine motor skills and improves literacy. In February of 2014, the State Board of Education passed a resolution that emphasizes that instructions in cursive writing is important and beneficial for children, and they support boards of education that continue to teach cursive. If the just proposed House Bill 146 passes, cursive would again be a mandatory part of elementary education. The bill would require handwriting instructions in kindergarten through 5th grade, that students are able to print letters and words by 3rd grade, that students can create readable documents using legible cursive handwriting at the end of 5th grade. So to teach cursive or not to teach cursive, that is the question, to be answered by proposed House Bill 146. And just a little side note, this kind of reminded me of when I was in elementary school. I was taught by the sisters there, and we must have spent at least a half hour on cursive writing. And they had a little ruler if you didn't do it right or you didn't slant it. But I do remember that they all had the most marvelous, marvelous handwriting. And that concludes my report.
We'll now move on to reports of council and back over to Mary Balbier.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I hope everyone had a wonderful Easter holiday. I had a marvelous one. It was a joyous occasion. And I'd like to give a little shout out to our Orthodox residents who celebrated Easter yesterday. And I hope everyone continues to keep the Easter message in their hearts throughout the year. I'd also like to thank Miss McGinty and her staff at the Brooklyn Rec Center. They did a fine job on the Easter egg hunt. The weather wasn't cooperative, it was a little chilly, but we had it at the senior center, and the children were so happy. The Easter Bunny arrived, pictures were taken. It was really a wonderful, wonderful community event. It was nice to see so many residents come out, and little comments that I heard throughout the afternoon was, Brooklyn gives so many Easter eggs. So thank you, Miss McGinney, and thank you to the Easter Bunny, too, for arriving. I'd also like to throw out a congratulation to our neighbors right here, St. Elias Melkite Catholic Church, right next door to us. They're going to be celebrating 110 years, their anniversary. They're going to have a fabulous dinner on Saturday, April 25th. They're going to have a reception, so anyone that's interested, you can call over at the church. And I personally would like to wish them Stolat, which means may you survive another 100 years. Also, on another note, I feel very sorry for the family of Mr. Chesar, our safety director. I did not know Mr. Chesar very well. When I came on board here, I only met him a couple times, but I could honestly say I think he was a kind and gentle man, and I'm so sorry to hear that he suffered so much towards the end. I do know that our dear mayor here thought the world of him, so once again, my special condolences to the family of Mr. Chesar, our safety director. There has been circulating an email about our track. I live over there on East Lane Drive, so I'm right by our outdoor track, and it is beautiful. Stands are beautiful, it looks great. But there are some residents that are perturbed about the hours that the track is opening. It's open from 7:30 in the morning till 5:30 it closes. This causes, when you look at it, it's like, who does this really help out? If people that work, it's kind of hard. You have to be at work by 8 or 9. It's kind of hard to go to the track. 5:30, you get off of work at 5. I was hoping that the schools would reconsider and look into it and consider opening the track, stay open a little bit later. Open it up in the morning a little bit later so people can jog or walk or whatever it is. We ask the residents to build this fabulous, fabulous school. We ask the residents to vote for levies. We ask the residents to support spaghetti dinners, fish fries, all kinds of things. And some residents have said they just don't think it's fair. So I'm hoping that the school would reconsider, and if it has anything to do with vandalism, maybe just stay open till 8 and, we could work with the police department somehow. But I think it's very, very important that, we look into this for our residents. I have always been a big supporter of the school. Whatever you need, I'll do my best to get it to you. But, residents kind of would like to use the track. Now the weather's getting warmer. It's beautiful there. Please, school board, please consider changing the hours. I'd also like to mention, I had a wonderful opportunity on March 29th to attend Vietnam's Veterans Day. It was commemorating the 50 years of the last soldier leaving Vietnam. Presently now, Congress is working to declare that March 29th becomes a national day of remembrance for Vietnam veterans and their families. At this affair, they had many, many speakers, and these gentlemen that were talking were reminiscing about the times in Vietnam. When they were talking, it was so vivid. They were so emotional, and some of the stories that these warriors told, they said they'll never, ever forget. Their motto is, "Never again will the citizens nor a generation of veterans abandon another veterans generation or our nation's defenders and their respective families." When I attend many of these veteran affairs, I can only think what a depth of gratitude we all owe to our veterans who fought for our country. God bless them all. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up is Kevin Jansky.
Thank you. Just a reminder that Youth Opportunities is still currently accepting applications for the summer program. If you have any questions or would like to register, go to www.youthopportunities.org. Information is also available at City Hall, Rec Center, and Brooklyn High School. Registration closes Friday, May 1st at 5 p.m. I had a chance to go over the other day with Mrs. Gallagher over to Outlook Drive that was repaved. And I didn't like what I seen as far as that paving starting to deteriorate on the sides and actually the crack seal coming off due to, I think, the pavement being a little higher than the cement along the curbside. Mr. Verba, did the engineer go over to Outlook Drive and assess the situation? Have we got anything back from him yet?
Yes, Mr. Courtney and myself went over there. We have contacted the contractor. He is currently on vacation. He's due back April 19th, so we are setting up a meeting as soon as he gets back, and we'll keep you abreast of what happens.
I appreciate that. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up is Andy Selhertz.
Thank you. As Mr. Hopkins mentioned in the public session, on May 5th, you have issue 1, the levy for the Brooklyn City Schools. Please go out and vote, try to support it if you believe in it. It is an important issue for the survival of our schools. It's no new taxes. It's a lot. It's 11% of their operating expenses for fuel, for electricity, just everyday operations. It's an important part of the schools. Hats off to Brooklyn Youth Football. These are the young gentlemen that won a championship in the fall. This past weekend they played at the Q Arena. On Saturday morning they had 2 games, one for one group at 10, one at 11. They're part of the Midwest Indoor Youth Football League, so hats off to them. Maybe it's going to be a good starting step for getting into Brooklyn High School football. Also, as Mrs. Balbier mentioned, I did receive the email from the track from the one resident. It was to the mayor, myself, and to the board members. From my understanding, it happened on a holiday weekend, so there was maybe a timing issue involved, but also would appreciate for the board and administration to maybe, with now the daylight becoming a little bit longer into the evenings, maybe where we can extend some hours for some of the residents, it would be appreciated. Do understand that the primary reason, purpose, and concern of the track is for the students and for their athletic endeavors, but when it's not being used for student activities, maybe if we could try to get it open for a little bit more for the public. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next up is Ron Van Kirk.
Thank you, Mrs. Gallagher. I too hope everyone had a nice Easter. My family and I celebrated. It was wonderful. I also had a chance a couple of weeks ago to be a part of a leadership focus group for the new superintendent search for the schools. And I want to thank Mr. Hopkins and for the school for reaching out to us as city leaders to be a part of that process. We had a wonderful meeting. We met for about an hour with the gentleman that they have working there, and it was fantastic. Also, working with Horning King, which are the architects that we've contracted with for the police station. They've are wrapping up their work on their end of things and hope to present something to council here very shortly. They've had the rough sketches and the bubble drawings done, the layout for a potential new station. Still a lot of work that needs to be done, but we are making progress on that. A lot of it's obviously behind the scenes that no one really sees. But I want to thank, again, Chief Melky and Sergeant Knapp for their hard work, and also for Horning King, who's done a wonderful job. As I said before, this is something that this community absolutely needs to have done. I'm in the process right now of putting together something to show the residents of the current condition of our police station right now. Not exactly sure the venue of how we're going to do that, but Sergeant Knapp is helping me with that. And we're working obviously to keep costs down as much as possible. This is going to be an expensive endeavor. And so I do want to keep the residents posted on that. And once we have all the pieces of the puzzle in place, obviously we'll present them to the public, have some sessions where the public can come and speak on it. But I just wanted to give everyone an update on that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Kathy Pucci.
Thank you. I too hope that everyone had a nice Easter. Easter is always very special for us because my oldest son was actually born on Easter Sunday. So we always really enjoy Easter. Safe Routes to School, we had a meeting on March 25th at 7:30 at Brook Ridge. The primary focus of the meeting was planning for our bike rodeo, which Mr. Selhertz mentioned is on Saturday, May 9th at Ridge Park Square from 9 to 11. This will be our second year at Ridge Park Square, and we are very grateful for them allowing us to use their space. So far, we have 13 trucks committed for the Touch a Truck. We're also looking into the possibility of some sort of ground show or a bike safety program for that morning. There will be a poster contest during the Bike to School week for children in grades K through 3. They touched a little bit on some incentives for staff wellness, and we're also looking into a Bike to School event. The walkers that we had on stilts, I don't know how many of you saw them, but during Walk to School week last fall, we had some walkers on stilts that we had groups that walked from different starting points in the community, and they were really a great hit with the kids. So we're looking to see if we can try and duplicate that for Bike to School week. I too had the privilege of participating in one of the focus groups with the search firm for our new superintendent. It was very good discussion, and I do appreciate the school board reaching out and having these focus groups from the community members and also including us. It was myself, Mr. Van Kirk, Mr. Selhertz, and the mayor. Oh, and police chief, and Mr. Kolsar, and Junior. Sorry about that. It seems like it was so long ago already, and it was just a couple weeks ago. The Brooklyn Community Improvement Corporation, we have a tentative meeting set. It hasn't been confirmed today. We just got the word today for April 23rd at 6:30 p.m. in the conference room. Just a quick update on our sign committee that's working on new signage for the city. We have had several recent meetings. Our engineer, Mr. Courtney, is working on preparing the specs. I think residents will be very pleased once we get the new signage installed. Basically, it'll be the Welcome to Brooklyn signs. We'll have all new signs at the entrances to our city. And also, we're looking at something a little larger at I-480 in Tiedemann. I also have an update on the Beautify Brooklyn. I don't know if the paper newsletters have been delivered yet, but I know the electronic newsletter went out. Just to give everyone a reminder, there's 3 parts to this new event. Clean Sweep, April 26th to May 23rd, clean out your house and yard. We're gonna have hazardous waste collection and computer electronics recycling, which will include the service garage being open Saturday, May 2nd and May 16th from 8 to 12 to accept these materials. Free document shredding, and Simple Recycling will collect used clothing and small household goods. This is going to be Saturday, May 2nd, 9 to noon in the rec center parking lot. Pitch the pills, dispose of expired or unwanted medications in the secure drug collection box that's located in the lobby of the police station. We will have student volunteers on Saturday, May 2nd to assist senior citizens who need help in cleaning up their yard. You can call the senior center to sign up, and I know they've already started getting calls. So it is going to be first come, first serve. So if this is a service that you need, make sure you call early. Bulbs and Blooms from May 6th to July 11th, beautify your house and yard. We've collaborated with the Cuyahoga County Public Library Brooklyn branch. The kickoff program will be Petiti Garden presentation, Plant Favorites for 2015, which is Wednesday, May 6th at 7 o'clock at the library. Registration is required either online at cuyahoga-library.org or by calling 216-398-4600. We're encouraging residents to enhance their landscaping, plant flowers, increase your curb appeal. There will be a Beautify Brooklyn contest where you can enter, very similar to the house decorating contest at Christmas time. And then there will be a judging occur the week of July 12th, reception July 26th. I would like to thank Chief Milkey because I was unable to make the last meeting that was held regarding the new police station. The chief gave me the information and answered a few of my questions, so thank you for your time. And thank you also, Mr. Kolsar. I asked him to check into the Up to Bat. Still get some complaints and concerns from residents who, are a little dissatisfied with how that facility looks. and I appreciate you bringing that before the Planning Commission. I too would like to encourage everyone to please support issue 1 for our schools. As Mr. Hopkins stated, this is a renewal, no new taxes. It's vital to the fiscal health of our school system. And also, as Mr. Hopkins mentioned, if the renewals go down, the state will no longer pick up the 12.5% that they pay for all of us. So please, if you have any questions, contact a school board member or the superintendent or Mr. Hopkins, but I would encourage everyone to please support this renewal levy. Regarding the track, I know that it is a security issue because of the investment that they've made in the artificial turf. However, I hope that we can come to some sort of resolution, because there are residents who are not happy that they no longer have access to the track after working on the weekends. So I'm hoping that we can come to where we can be able to expand the hours of the track. And finally, I would like to offer my very sincerest condolences to the family of our safety director, Mr. Chesar. Up until a couple years ago, I was off on Thursday morning, so frequently I was here when Mr. Chesar was working here at City Hall. And when he passed away, there were 3 things that I thought of. The first was his love and dedication to the fire service. He spent decades and a very long career in the safety forces, and even just meeting him for the first time, that just really shined through how much he loved the fire service and was dedicated to improving it here in our community. The second thing that always came across was his devotion to his family. He always spoke so lovingly of his wife and very proudly of his children and his grandchildren. He always asked me how my children were doing. And after he became ill, there was another aspect that really resonated with me, and that was his very strong faith and his devotion to his religion. He really fought his illness heroically, but he also knew that in the end it was really in God's hands. So again, my sincerest condolences to his family. We appreciate his service to our community. And Mr. Clausen, if you could I'd be more than happy to work on this with you, but I'd like to have a resolution of condolence at our next council meeting for his family. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure Ron Van Kirk had already requested something, so it's in the works.
Thank you. And that completes my report.
Tonight, I'd like to first pass on some information about House Bill 648, which is a bill that would require mandatory prison terms for anyone convicted of a felony offense against a disabled or elderly in Ohio. There are already enhanced penalties for 11 criminal offenses for elderly or disabled, but this bill would make those current penalties stricter. This is especially important because with these current enhanced penalties, statistics show that violent victimization of persons with disabilities was 60%, 60 per every 1,000, which makes that 3 times more than those without disabilities. And in the cases of elderly compared to younger people, elderly offer little to no resistance when attacked. So I'm fully in favor of this bill, and I urge you to look into it some more. Thanks to everyone who came out to the Easter egg hunt. This event and Santa riding around the city are the highlight events for children in this community every year. I want to thank our recreation manager, Maria McGinty, and the recreation employees for your work on this event. And thank you to the city council members and school members who donated some extra goodies for our children this year. Additionally, Mrs. McGinty, I'm pleased to see the addition of new services like this health-based sessions in our recreation center, and I commend you for adding more to the recreation center and giving more offerings to our community. The regional dispatch center is on the agenda tonight, and it's only on first reading. And as we should always be looking for ways to enhance our services and save money by regionalizing, it's also important that we look to enter these type of agreements by 1, looking at our future obstacles and opportunities, but 2, we should also be protecting the city's service quality and residents' tax dollars first and foremost. I vocalized many issues with this contract language as it reads right now in the finance meeting, and consequently I'm glad to hear that we're going to take the opportunity to make the necessary changes before we sign into this long-term contract. As you can see, there's a lot of gas line replacements around the city. Dominion has been replacing gas lines on Burwald, Bentwood, Bidoff, East Lane, Forest Edge, Outlook, Rodone, South Lane, Springwood, and Williamston. The project began on February 2nd, is scheduled to complete on June 26th. The restoration of the yards is scheduled to be completed by July 17th. If you see any hazards right now, please call our building department to take care of it. I've spoken to many residents about this, and there's some frustrations about the lack of notice by Dominion and about the restorations of the yard so far. Residents understand that this needs to get done, but I hope in the future council could be notified prior to the work so we can advise residents of the timelines and requirements by Dominion. And my personal concern walking in this area is for the residents who have sidewalks blocked off totally. And then so consequently, the pedestrians are forced to either go one way or the other. So they're, not only are their tree lawn being destroyed, but their lawns are being destroyed. So I just hope that we make sure that all of this property is, looks up to par after this is completed. I want to thank John Verba. Mr. Tansky brought up the Outlook issue, and I've received many complaints about the work that was done on Outlook. And I know Mr. Verba's been out there several times and he's taking this seriously, so I just want to thank you for that. Congrats to the students receiving National Honor Society awards this Thursday night at the school. This is a huge achievement. I also want to share that a couple weeks ago I did a demo on shareohio.gov, which is a program created by the State Auditor's Office where cities can upload lists of current equipment and work with other municipalities to borrow or rent equipment if needed. It also can be used in cases of natural disaster situations. I think this is a useful operational tool to test equipment before purchasing or just to borrow particular equipment when needed for smaller jobs, instead of purchasing everything as in the past. Our service director works with Parma and Parma Heights frequently, and the organizer from the auditor's office was contacting him in Parma and Parma Heights to join on to Share Ohio and list our equipment. I know the track is brought up, and I agree. You know, this is something that we've had in our community a long time. And I know, in speaking to some of the school board members, this is a top priority for them. And I know they're hesitant with all the money that you guys have invested in the levies, of protecting that investment. And I just would like to find a way to have this happy medium. I know with the demolition coming of Rodone and Brookridge, their main concern is for the children and liability issues when tearing down those buildings and nobody getting hurt. So I understand that. I just would like some kind of timeline of when it's opening in broader hours. That would make me personally happy, and I think it would make a lot of residents happy to see light at the end of the tunnel. And the last item I'd like to discuss tonight is regarding the raises for non-bargaining directors and staff. I stated in the last finance meeting, and I want to state again, the process the mayor is using right now is inconsistent, immeasurable, and it lacks transparency. I think this administration owes it to the taxpayers and employees to have better practices when granting raises. It's hard to explain to residents or employees how some employees can get an 11.6% raise over 2 years while others receive less than a quarter of that. And that's it. I'm moving on to the mayor's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Gallagher. I also would like to offer my condolences to the Chessar family. When I interviewed Ed 5 or 6 years ago, I knew within 5 minutes of the interview that he was my man. We had a lot in common. We were both the same age. We both had 3 children. His career was in the Cleveland Fire Department. Mine was in the police department. And I knew that he would be an excellent safety director. And it turned out he was. And I offer my condolences to his family, and it's going to be hard to replace him. In case you haven't heard, we've had a sewer pipe that's collapsed under Memphis Avenue, and it's almost down by Lindale by the Industrial Parkway. So the police department met with the sewer department and the contractor to see what's the best way to repair it. So it's been decided to do it at nighttime. So starting tonight, Memphis Avenue will be closed from Tiedemann to Belair while they work on it, and at 6 in the morning they'll put plates over it so traffic can go by during the daytime. They figured this would be less of a hazard than trying to close Memphis Avenue during the daytime. So, and it should be done, John can correct me if I'm wrong, by the end of the week. So they're going to do this each night for the whole week, closing at 8 and opening at 6 a.m. A couple weeks ago, Brooklyn applied to NOACA, the TLCI funding, to get money for the planning of I-71 and Ridge Road drop-off point there, the intersection. Well, we got a word today that we were turned down. We didn't get this grant for planning. And they told us, they says, additionally, the staff recommends the city seek funding for an interchange modification study through the Ohio Department of Transportation. So we'll confer with the Friends of the Big Creek and see if, well, now they're called something else, but we're going to confer with them and see if they want us to go ahead with this, try another grant to put this, put that at 71 and Ridge. And finally, my last thing is, as everyone probably knows, that this is the year we have local elections. And in Brooklyn this November, you'll be voting to fill the seats of three council seats will be up for election, and also the mayor's seat. So I get asked every day whether I'm going to run for mayor or not. So tonight I'm announcing I will not seek re-election this year. So next year at this time, there'll be a different mayor sitting up here. So I know there's a lot of people waiting to hear what I'm going to do. So I just want it official that I will not be running for re-election. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Tansky, you had something to add?
Yes, Mayor, can you look into, I know I talked to you before about this, I don't know whether we could delay the process or move to a different street on these gas lines. But Bidoff, in the morning with the schools, these parents got this traffic's backed all the way up, and it's taken longer than expected to get into the school to drop kids off. And if they could have only waited another month or 2 weeks, a month and 2 weeks, they could have had free reign to everything, because there'd be not as half the amount of traffic coming up at that time when they got everything blocked up. Can you make a call? I know they might give you a hard time or tell you they can't do it, but express to them if they could have waited a little longer, maybe move to a different street or delay the process?
Yeah, we'll try. I doubt if it's going to work, but we'll try.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Ms. Gallagher, may I be recognized?
Yes.
Mr. Verba, I don't know if we've gotten any information from the county yet on when they're going to be prepared to start attending to the landscaping on Ridge Road or not. I know they were waiting for the weather, but I just...
Yeah, I haven't had any further
Okay.
contact with them.
I just want to make sure that they are on board for, you know, getting an early start to that. Because there's a lot of tree lawns and there's really a lot of work that has to be done over there. And then also, we need to make sure we don't forget about ODOT too. I had a complaint, actually yesterday about that on Tiedemann. You know, none of the grass they planted
Right.
grew. And, it's also, they also left behind a lot of stones and everything, not just in the street, but on that sidewalk. So I don't know if we can get somebody out to sweep that, but there's a lot of people that go on Tiedemann on their bikes and walking up and down Tiedemann that, are struggling with that
swept it.
sidewalk on the bridge.
Yeah, we just swept the sidewalk like 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so it's just getting kicked up
It's
again
just
then?
getting kicked
Okay,
off, yeah.
all right, thank you very much, I appreciate it.
May I be recognized?
Yes, Mayor.
Well, I dreaded this day to come, but I would like to thank the mayor, my brother-in-law, for the 50 years of service here in Brooklyn. Never have I heard a hateful, vindictive, or gossip word come out of him. He never says, I'm gonna get you, I'm gonna do this. He was always a kind and gentle man. And it just shows how many friends he has. I'd only say this because he's my brother-in-law, but he's also my friend, my dear, dear friend. He raised 3 beautiful children, 3 girls, educated them all. They're wonderful. He has a beautiful, wonderful wife. And now I hope he can rest and enjoy his retirement. And I know the city is going to miss you, as I know I am, but I'll still see you around. And I do hope that you'll be able to go fishing with Ron. But I thank you for those 50 years of public service. A policeman, a police sergeant, and the mayor. Your dad would be pretty proud. Thank you, Rich. I love you.
You have to remember, that's all coming from my sister.
Okay, now moving on to director's reports. First up, we have Recreation Manager Maria McGinty.
Good evening. The Brooklyn Recreation Department extended their youth baseball registration until Friday, April 17th. This will be our last and final day for registration. If you need more information, please call 216-351-5334. That completes my report.
Thank you. Finance Director Dan Enovich.
Thank you, Council President Gallagher. As of today, April 13th, 2015, the general fund of the City of Brooklyn has taken in $5,617,751.43 and has expended $4,498,604.24. That fund represents, as I remind you every council meeting, the primary operation of the city services. And as a result, our unexpended general fund balance as of today is $11,198,506.86. And in total, the city has $25,455,516.39 in cash. The Finance Department is working on the tax budget. That is the process by which we will establish the millage by which we will fund the city, which will be brought before council in the next meeting or two. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Before we begin the legislation, I just want to let everyone know we are going to go into executive session tonight about the possible purchase of land. There'll be no action taken when we adjourn again. First up is ordinance 2015-16, authorizing a contract between the City of Brooklyn and Rick Del Rosa to provide health-based sessions and small group classes at the John M. Coyne Recreation Center.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Does anybody want to suspend the rules or just do it for emergency? To adopt, Mary Bellbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-25, establishing the Parma Community Partner rates at the John M. Coyne Recreation Center and Auditorium. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2015-26, authorizing the mayor to enter an agreement to establish a consolidated communication center in Parma, Ohio. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2015-27, amending Chapter 951, Garbage Collection, Recycling of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Brooklyn. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2015-28, providing for the issuance and sale of $413,504 in notes in anticipation of issuance of bonds to pay costs of improvement to city buildings, including parking therefore, and declaring an emergency. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2015-29, providing for the issuance and sale of $466,496 notes in anticipation of issuance of bonds to pay costs of resurfacing certain city streets to be approved by City Council together with all work incidental thereto, and declaring an emergency. This is on first reading. Ordinance 2015-30, authorizing the lease purchase of one vehicle and ancillary equipment for use by the Brooklyn Police Department.
Introduced by all, suspend the rules.
Second.
To suspend the rules, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
To adopt, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.
Ordinance 2015-31, amending Exhibit A of Ordinance 2006-15, titled Providing for the Compensation for the Full-Time Administrative Employees Non-Bargaining Agreement of the City of Brooklyn, Ohio. This is on first reading. Ron, do you want to do a motion and include who you?
Yes. I move that we go to executive session to discuss possible land acquisition. In the executive session, if the mayor, the finance director, the service director, and the police chief could attend, it will be brief, I promise.
Second.
To adjourn to executive session, Mary Bellbeer.
Yes.
Kevin Tansky.
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Katie Gallagher.
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk.
Yes.
Kathy Pucci.
Yes.